Hello, everyone. Welcome to your latest installment of Cataloging Cocktails. This is your weekly live hangout, which is an honest, no BS, non-salesy conversation about data management with tasty ideas and tasty beverages. So we've got Tim Gasper here, Director of Product over at data.world.
And I'm Juan Sequeda. I'm the Principal Scientist here at data.world.
Yeah, welcome everyone. And one special announcement that we have today is that next week we do have our data.world summit, Wednesday, September 23rd. It's a half day of new ideas, practical guidance, and journeys into sort of the latest innovations around data practices, technology, and leadership. The headliner is former chief scientist of the US, DJ Patil, as well as a bunch of other really awesome speakers. So please make sure you check that out, data.world/events/summit.
Yeah, we also have Dr. Amy Kirschkopf. She's a 3-time CDO, so she's going to bring in a lot of great perspectives. So
yeah, really excited about that one.
So actually, as another quick announcement, so our next Cataloging Cocktails next week will be, instead of 4 p.m. Central, will be at 1:30, because we will do a closing kind of ceremony Q&A with our speakers from our summit at a special edition of Cataloging Cocktails. So that's why it's really cool to be able to be here with live and then have these conversations with everybody else afterwards. And you can also listen to us in our podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And what are you drinking, Tim? What are you doing? What's up?
Yes, let's get to the meat here, which is what we're drinking. I am drinking a Hemingway daiquiri today. I'll paste the link to it, but it's kind of like your traditional sort of rum daiquiri, but with grapefruit cordial in it. So pretty yummy. What are you drinking?
That's fancy. I'm having just a dark and stormy.
Oh, okay.
Classic drink, and it always ends up as like, what do I have here in my bar, in my fridge I can go make a drink with? And that was a nice combination. So
nice, I like it. Yeah, let me get my little link in the chat here too. So cheers, Juan.
All right, cheers, my friend. Always great to have a pause in the week and have this conversation. And thanks for everybody joining us here live, and everybody who's going to be listening to us on the podcast later on. Well, yeah. I'm super excited. I'm always excited about this, and I always say this one is really exciting. But they're all exciting. All these topics that we talk about. Again, no BS, honest conversation here. And one of the topics that comes a lot is about build versus buy. The big famous build versus buy. And I think this applies to any type of software product. But here we're going to talk about build versus buy on the catalog space. And I think we find it super interesting, because there's a lot of open source tools out there that people have done, people meaning big companies. And there is this tendency of, wait, if other people have done it, why should I go buy a data catalog? I should go build it. And it's a very valid argument. And I think here we want to go kind of play debate. I mean, I really didn't do debate in high school or anything, but this is going to be fun.
Yeah, we were trying to decide, like, what's the right format here? Should we do like Lincoln Douglas style? Like, I got to start with 2-minute opening statement, or, but we figure we'll go for it kind of casual here. And I'm going to put on my little devil horns, and I'm going to be the build guy. And I'm going to talk about sort of why we should be building. And Juan's going to take a little bit more of the persona of buy, right? And so we're gonna kind of work through some different things here and see where we land.
All right, well, go, Tim. Convince me. Why should somebody go build a data catalog instead of buy one? So
let's start off real quick. And by the way, for those who are here live, feel free to chime in with your comments or questions in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. Just remembering sort of the value of a catalog, right? Where you've got all these different data systems, you want to be able to find, understand, and sort of use your data, right? We want to create a good culture of self-service. So, all that, we're not going to dive into data catalogs right now. So let's assume that y'all have some ideas there, and feel free to do some more research online or at our website to learn more about data catalogs. But, let's say you've decided you want to implement a data catalog, right? You want to create that index for your data. You want to make it searchable. You want to make it so that people can put that data to use more easily. There is a lot of really great open source tooling out there. If you look at the last handful of years here, companies like Twitter, Airbnb, Netflix, LinkedIn, Lyft, Airbnb, Shopify, Spotify, they've all been working on these internal data catalogs, and actually quite a few of them have open sourced that technology. And so you can go, check out things like Atlas, which is more Hadoop oriented, but that's sort of Apache Foundation. That's a really interesting project. Things like Adminson, which was created by Lyft and put out there. Metacat by Netflix, Marquez by WeWork. Whatever you think about their co-working capabilities, they put together a nice little catalog. And you can leverage these things and put them to work. So, open source technology is out there. What do you think about that, Juan?
So open source is out there, and well, the famous phrase, right? Is it's free, but is it free like free beer, like puppies, right? So that's one aspect. So how much do we actually have to go invest to actually go implement this? And then if we think about it, there's so many of these tools. You just named them, you named 5 or 6. Why are there already 5 or 6 open source tools? I mean, isn't that already an indicator that everybody is so unique that it's just always going to be so different? I mean, shouldn't there just have been one, or there could have been a consortium, or like Apache should have done it? Why so many? I mean, that's already an indicator that it's just going to get so fuzzy and complicated.
Well, I think that's a good question. I think it's early days. I think that a lot of companies have started to build out their data lakes. They've started to build out their data warehouses. So some of that foundation is now in place, and they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I get Tableau and all these tools to put these sort of different data assets to work? And so, right now there's a little bit of sprawl, a little bit of dispersion, but over time that's going to consolidate, right? And maybe soon there's going to be, an Apache tool or something around this, but that shouldn't stop companies from innovating and building out their sort of lab capability and trying one of these things out, right?
All right, you got to keep going. Go with the next argument. Let's see.
All right, so we'll keep
flip it around, and then I'm going to give you my arguments of why you should not build and you should go buy. Keep going. Let's see.
All right. So another thing is that, we're starting to embrace things like data ops and DevOps. And in general, we're trying to build up stronger data capabilities within our companies. And so, what better to provide that sort of interface from your data team to the rest of the people in your company than not just a catalog that you're getting off the shelf off of some random vendor, but something that you've built that really has your stamp on it, that's unique to your specific use cases, right?
Okay, fair point. So you're building a tool for the people who are actually building it, right? So I'm building the tool that I want. Okay, that I'll give you that argument, but I don't think the tool, a data catalog, is a tool just for the tech people. It's the true data democratization is you want a data catalog to enable all of your data people within your organization. So, okay, I'll give you this, if your focus is to satisfy the needs of the data producers, the technical folks, okay, I think that would be an argument to go build. But I don't think that's the true kind of the goal that people want in an organization, is that you want everybody to go find the data. You want to eliminate the bottlenecks for IT. You don't want the business consumers to have to go talk to the IT. You want them to go find their own data on their own. And simply, people don't know how to do user interfaces and stuff for the data consumers, for business people, for non-technical folks. So, so if your goal is to really just satisfy the tech folks, all right, fine. But that's a very, I think, concrete use case. And I wonder if people actually do have that use case in the practice, if their goal is to go satisfy the tech.
Fair point. I'll give you that, because a lot of these open source tools do have interfaces that are, if you're familiar with some of these terms, very bootstrappy, in the sense that, they're pretty simplistic. They're not necessarily designed with the wider business users in mind, but, maybe that's not where you need to start, or maybe you do just need a catalog for your most technical users, and that can work, right? This fits your needs for that. So another point, which is interesting, I'm curious on your rebuttal on this, Juan, is around people, right? And sort of the amount of resources that need to go into this. obviously one of the benefits of open source, and I know, free like puppies versus free like beer, right? But open source is free, right? And it's something where, we can put that to use. We can start experimenting with it, and we don't have to worry about these complex, POC cycles and things like that, right?
Well, I mean, but people here cost money, right? So you still need to have internal support for this. So let's say you're going to go reuse an existing open source tool. Okay, yeah, we always argue that there's going to be a community of people around it. Fine, but then is the community going to satisfy your particular needs? If you actually have a particular need that you need to get done, you think the community is going to go out there and just do it for free? Like, no, you probably either need to go staff up internally to go do that implementation, go hire somebody else to go do that. And that's a cost right there. So, I mean, I think there's always going to be a cost, and it's going to be a cost on the people that you need to get involved. It's a cost on the time too. Time is money here. And frankly, you need cash to go do all this stuff too, right? I mean, yeah, there's a community out there, but I think it is, everybody will have different things they want to get done. And you really want to have a trusted partner, not just a quote unquote community.
No, that's true. That's true. And I think that obviously the community around some of these open source tools is it's a little nascent right now, right? As you mentioned earlier, there isn't the one Apache tool to rule them all that had the momentum of something like Hadoop or something like that, right? Five or 10 years ago, right?
So that's an argument that if you would have something that would become like a Hadoop, that literally the entire world got around that, and then it was like, why wouldn't you use Hadoop, right? That could happen, and yeah, I'll give you that. That could happen, and then you end up having then companies like Cloudera and Hortonworks that they ended up supporting that. Yeah, will we see that in the data catalog space? I don't know. That's a good point. Yeah. But here's the thing: is that somebody needs to go build. Right now, there are 5 or 6 of these open source tools out there. Is one of them going to come out? Is another one going to come in? Like, I don't know.
Well, but isn't that exciting that we get to decide who the winners and the losers are in this? If you like Adminson or you like Marquez, you get to vote with. Go ahead, go on GitHub, go star that repo, right?
Okay, fair point. But then how do you deal then with how do the economics align here? I mean, you have to have basically a large budget for today, and don't you need to have a large budget for tomorrow, because you're going to go implement this today and you're supporting it yourself. And if you're not a company who's used to building software, that's not in your DNA. I mean, you need to either have a lot of money, you need to have a lot of time, and you need to have a lot of people who's going to go do that. I guess if you have those 3 things, probably a good candidate to go build. But I don't know how many people out there have a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of people.
I think that's a very fair point, right? And I think that if you have a very open source centric culture, and if you have the sort of resources where you can have some people focused on this initiative, figuring out how to put some of that tooling to work. Maybe you even don't want to use some of that open source tooling. Maybe you want to build your own even, right? You have the money, you have the people, and ideally, you don't have a ton of urgency, right? Because if you're really trying to move fast, there's something to be said around leveraging a vendor to help you with this, or even bringing in some services folks and things like that to help with that. And so I agree with you. I think that the economics do have to align. And if they do, right, if you do have some data ops and DevOps folks, especially if they're in sort of a labs group or something like that, you've got time, right? You've got some ability to sort of roll this out over the course of, many months, maybe even a couple of years. Maybe you even want to actually contribute back to the community, right? You want to actually build out some new features. You're like, man, you know what? Adminson doesn't have lineage for these 5 data sources that we use internally. Let's go build that and let's contribute it, right? Obviously, you have that ability to do that, and that's not for everyone, but it can be for some people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I go to see this as placing a bet, right? But if you're going to go place a bet, you probably need to be in a really good position to go do that. So I think my point is going to be is that not everybody is going to be in a position to place a bet on going to go build. And people, some others will be, and I think go for it. We apparently there's a lot of these companies who are being successful at building their own thing. Great. I mean, I think the latest one that we saw was with the folks at Shopify, right? They built their own thing, and we've actually had conversations with them, wanted to go learn what they were doing, and they seem to be having success around that. But I think there's some arguments, so I need to go flip it out on my side on the buy, unless you got more arguments for me.
Well, the one other argument that I'll say, in addition to, you know, open source and sort of tailoring and you know, things like that, is going to be is vendor lock-in, right? There's something to be said about not being tied to a single vendor and being able to you know, to kind of choose your own adventure, right? And not be beholden to a locked-in set of proprietary standards or a black box or something like that. So you know, that's more kudos on the side of DIY and open source. And that's kind of what I got on my side. So
so that's a fair point on the vendor lock-in thing, but I think that's we probably associate vendors and commercial as like, oh, this black thing, it's all bad, right? We shouldn't go do that. When I'm like, no. And let me use that as to pivot on arguments for why you should go buy. First of all, you should not just go buy a tool off the shelf from a vendor and then that's it, you're off and you're on your own. Like that's not what you should be buying. All right, you need to be buying from somebody who is not just a vendor but is a partner, right? So you know that you are not, that you have visibility of what is going on with that company, what they're building, and you can actually influence the stuff from them. And I think part in things that I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm gonna put this as a quick parenthesis here, and you sound a little bit salesy. I hate doing this. Sorry. Build on open standards, right? And that's what we've done at data.world. So you can actually go reuse the data out there, right? I think that's important. And I think that would be an argument for any vendor to say, hey, people are afraid of buying because of vendor lock-in. Make sure you use open standards so that's a way to alleviate that standard, right? So by the way, I realize that's not just salesy for data.world. That's like an argument for any vendor. Go use open standards, right? So that's one of the things I would say. Like you really want to partner. You want to partner with a partner. You don't want to just go deal with a vendor. So that's one of the important argument. Another one I'm going to go is, I need to hit the ground running today. I don't have time, right? I think an argument that you're saying on your side to go build is that I got time and got money. But what if I have money, but I don't have time? And I really cannot, and I may even have the people, or I may not have the people, but I really need to hit the ground running because I have so much work, so much redundant work is being done. We need to give people the capabilities to go find their data. I need to hit the ground running today. And I want to be able to literally almost off the shelf, take something and hit the ground running. I mean, let me start off with those. What do you think?
No, I think that makes sense, but you know, do you think that, you know, the ROI is really that much better with buying a solution from a vendor, or do you know, is it? I mean, it's probably expensive and still takes a long time, right? Well,
so we can see this kind of with short term, medium term, and long term. And let me go look at the long term side. If you're building a piece of software that is, or extending an open source, that's going to be fundamental to how you manage your data within your organization. And we know that data is the new oil and yada, 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 right? Well, you also need to be prepared to manage what I have today, and also be prepared for what's coming up tomorrow, which we have no idea what's going to happen. That means that we need to go innovate. But if your business is, I don't know, if you're in insurance, right? If you're in e-commerce, you're in retail, like your goal is to innovate in your core, in the core competency of your business, not to go innovate on data management. So why spend that energy on being able to go to go do things that are not within the focus for your business? So that ROI right there, that's really hard to go calculate. But if you think about it in the long run, are you really going to spin up a team to go be prepared to go do and extend your software for anything that's going to happen? Why not let other people innovate for you? And they're going to do it much better and faster. They have much more experience too, right? Because they're going to have many more customers. They're going to learn from that, and you're going to gain from the experience of their other customers that they have.
No, yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. And, you know, I know that, you know, when you're implementing a catalog, there's a lot of things to consider beyond just building and implementing and managing and supporting the catalog, right? You're implementing governance processes. You're implementing curation around your data to create more, you know, productized things like data sets and things like that. You're trying to create enablement programs and literacy programs, and that stuff takes time and energy and people too. So, I mean, I think that if you can throw the people at it, you know, there's a lot of benefits to the open source approach, but I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're
actually, so let's go, we're debating here back and forth. Well, if we were to make a list of all the features, either the features that we need, and we would put out the features that vendors have, and we compare with the features that open source tools have, either who has more features and who has the possibility to go build more features, and not just go build the features, later on actually be more innovative and come up with the next feature that we're probably not even thinking about today. Who do you think can do that better? An open source community or actually the vendors?
Well, that's hard because, you know, there isn't a huge open source community around these things yet. I mean, it's growing, it's happening, but it's not, you know, like we mentioned earlier, it's not like the Hadoops and things like that of the world. There aren't, you know, there isn't that level of activity around it yet. You know, I feel confident that companies like WeWork and Lyft and some of these bigger companies, you know, they're big companies. But that being said, you know, they have a couple of people working on these projects. So, you know, frankly, you know, although it's open source, it's free, it's something you can put to work very quickly, it is less featureful, right? There are less features there than some of the vendor solutions.
And going on the feature aspect, and I've had a conversation with many people when we have this discussion, and their argument for build is that they have unique use cases and they're going to need unique features. And I'm like, really, with all due respect, do you really think you're that unique? I mean, obviously we all want to feel that we're special and stuff, but if we're being very practical about it, are you that unique? And that particular feature that you're asking for that our data catalog doesn't do, or another data catalog doesn't do you really think that is a key feature that is going to enable you go solve so many problems and make so much money? Really? And if you genuinely really think that is the case, okay, go build. But I would be very, very skeptical about that. And I really want to go push people and say, do you really think you're that unique or not? And obviously you all want to think that we're special. And I think the way to go push on that is to align the tech needs, because this usually comes when we're having tech conversations, is align that with the business needs. And we realize, hey, to go satisfy these business needs, we need X amount of features. Oh, look at that. That would be a good way of categorizing. If a vendor has those features or an open source tool has those features, but then also think about, it's not just short term, think about medium term and long term. How's that going to affect you, right? So are you that special? That's my question.
Juan, I am special.
Well, we're all special in some ways, but
yeah,
I would argue that if I am very special, I mean, that would probably be in your advantage, that you probably have some special sauce that's making you better than your competitors. But if you're really that special, it's like, wow, then that's probably against me, because I got to go deal with so much BS around, while other people don't have to go deal with that. And my competitors probably don't have to go deal with that. They're going to hit the ground running. And I think that's another argument why you want to go buy, is that if your competitors are already doing this and they're hitting the ground running and you're not, they're going to go beat you.
That's true. I mean, that's where time to market matters a lot, right? I think that, I mean, you're making some good points there. And I think that when you really zoom out, right, you look at companies like LinkedIn and Lyft and Airbnb and things like that, they obviously are kind of unique in the sense that they are very large. They have a very large number of data scientists and things like that, and they're very you know, a do-it-yourself engineering centric kind of culture. You know, some companies align well with that. You know, maybe the Facebooks of the world and things like that. You know, that really jives with them, right? But maybe for a lot of companies, right, they really would rather have an approach that is a little faster, more dependable, and something where they're not worried about having to drive their entire roadmap themselves. You know, being able to rely on a roadmap being driven by the vendor. So I can totally see that. But hey, free's pretty nice though, don't you think?
Well, it's is it a free beer or is it free like puppies? Here's another thing to look about it. And if you are a retail company, you're starting a business, are you really going to go build your own order management system? No, you're just going to go buy Shopify, go use Magento, right? Are you going to go build your own database? No, you're going to go use Oracle or Snowflake. Hey, Snowflake.
But that's hard. That's hard. Isn't catalog easy though? Catalog's simple, right?
Well, so there are aspects of cataloging that you may consider simple. But again, I think the devil's in the details. And when you start getting to those details, you realize, wow, do I really want to own this, right? And also think about in an organization, right? Is this part of your DNA? And I think, again, always 30 minutes will go by so quickly. Let's go try to wrap up. Let's go try to wrap up here. Let's be very honest. I know we've had a good kind of go build versus buy discussion. Let's sit down together and let's make a quick list.
We can step out of character and
a little bit.
Let's come to an agreement.
An agreement. So let's kind of think out takeaways. Why would you want to go build? Honestly, I mean, building. I think if in your organization you have a DNA of building software, of doing open source, of contributing open source, that's already a factor involved because the culture in your company, the people in your company like that. They enjoy it. They go work at your company because they get to go do that stuff. And I think that's already on. So when you think about, do I have the people today and will I have the people tomorrow? If that's part of your culture, maybe you're already on the path for building, I would think. So that kind of, the culture and the people thing are going together. Like that's one aspect, I think. What else would you add on the list of things to go build?
I actually really like one of the comments that was posted here, which is by Mark, which is that you know, if you kind of have a clear vision of what you're trying to do and you have those people, you have those resources, go execute on your vision, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. But you know, a lot of companies are dealing with problems that are much bigger and broader and aren't able to simply say, let me peel off 10 people to go do this thing for the next 2 years, right?
Okay, yeah, so I'm writing this down here. So you have a strong vision and you want to go execute it. Perfect, let's go do that. And I would also say that, let's be frank, you have to have money. I mean, you have to be an Uber, a Lyft, a Netflix, you have a lot of cash and you can go spend on that, right? I think that's a big argument there.
Yeah, and I think not just because you need the people and the sort of the resources to do that, but also to that point around features and things like that. The open source set of tools out there are not at the level as what, you know, some vendors are able to provide. And so you're talking about like development. There's product development going into this, right?
Okay, so 4 things. It's in your culture, it's in your DNA. You have the people to go do that. Second, you have a strong vision. You want to go execute on it. Third, you got the money to go do it. And fourth, you have unique cases, unique use cases, unique use case
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. All
right, that's good. That's a good, nice synthesis here. So why would you want to go buy? I will start. Number one is that you want to hit the ground running, right? So it means that you don't have time. You don't have time. I think another argument is that you want to partner with somebody who will help you, who will innovate for you, basically. Mm-hmm. So you want to focus on your core, your core competency of your company, and you let other people, meaning the vendor who's your partner, go innovate for you. I helped you. You helped me. Give me my arguments.
No, those are good ones, and I think the next one is, you really want to maximize your ROI, because I think there's a lot of reason why, when you look at the grand scheme of how you're allocating people and process in your company, do you want to spend that money and effort and energy into building the tool or making it work within your business, right? And I think that where the investment needs to go to get traction is in making it work for your business and thinking about specifically how to make data practices and data culture and data governance work in your company. And that's where you want to spend your time and energy, not in building the catalog.
All right, so to sum up here, takeaway, why would you build? It's in your culture, in your DNA. You got the people, you have a strong vision, want to go execute on that vision. You got a lot of cash and you have very unique use cases. On the flip side, why do you want to go buy? Is that you want to hit the ground running. You don't have time. You want to partner with a vendor who's going to innovate for you. They can learn from their other customers. You need to go maximize your ROI, right? And you're not a software development shop, right? You don't know how to go develop software, and you want to have a catalog that is built for all people, not just for the technical folks. With that, Tim, always a pleasure. Cheers. Happy Wednesday, and see you next week.
Cheers.